What's good, guys? The Novice back for another review. The Last Days of American Crime. This is a Netflix movie. It's just released. This movie is one of those psychological, dare I say, Black Mirror-ish type episodes. Those psychological. I'd say think of The Purge because it gave me that vibe. But I'll get to it. My impression of this movie, I do not like this movie. This movie as far as I'm concerned, is not a good movie. Now, it may be possible that this movie is so bad that in mentally falling asleep, I didn't catch things because there were things that were just not making sense. But I'll go through my thought process as I was watching this movie to explain why I don't like this movie and why it's not good as far as I'm concerned. Okay, here's my perspective. The movie starts. When it starts, it says in one of the opening credits, based on a graphic novel by Rick Remender and forget the last name, Daniel Torrico, or it might have been like an apostrophe in one of the letters, so maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. But it's based on a graphic novel. Okay, I'm thinking Sin City. That's maybe a bit extreme in terms of like the look of the world and the feeling. But fair enough. It's meant to be like a slightly hyper real. Think about certain crime dramas, blaxploitation, Shaft. Meant to be slightly there's master criminals, there's like mid level kind of above average henchmen, one or two, and then there will be like boss level like gangsters and all that stuff, right? Because this is a crime. This is meant to be like a days in the life of a couple of criminals. This movie, the premise of it, like I said, it's a day in the life of a criminal called Brick and various other criminals around him, and they're trying to pull off one last job before something happens in their city, which I can't explain. Actually, you know what? Fuck it, spoilers. I can't. I dislike this movie that much. It's something called the API, which is the American Peace Initiative, but specifically, it's called the API signal, which is meant to be something in your brain, which when a signal activates in your city and it starts ringing, it stops all people from committing acts that they know to be unlawful. In other words, it's meant to prevent like all crime from happening in theory. First mistake. This, like I said, this movie is based on a graphic novel. It's supposed to have that like kind of sci-fi-ish, maybe over-exaggerated feel, both in terms of the characters and the world. But they fucked up with your first rule of adapting something like this on screen. Keep it simple. Because throughout this movie, they don't make it exactly clear what that means in terms of not committing unlawful acts. What? Oh, sorry. When they say don't commit lawful acts, don't commit lawful acts. This is the news report that said it. That you're aware of. And I was thinking to myself, what does that mean? Does that mean that if people commit a crime, they wouldn't know if they don't know the crime that they're committing? So let's say there's a certain financial crime that I unknowingly commit. There's I don't know. Let me think. Like this, let's say there's a limit to how much I can put in my account, and I don't know, and it's changed like very recently. I don't know. Just think of the thing. Whatever it is just like I'm rambling. I'm trying hard throughout this movie to see the good side. I even wrote down some notes on it. So yeah, they had the signal tested on them, and here's me thinking, oh, you know what? It's gonna operate in a way that makes them more docile, but no, it's more like a screeching noise, and it almost implies that there's a black market of things to try and counteract the signal, which again leads to more theories like why as far as I know only America, this is only happening in America, why isn't there like a big black market in the lead up to it to make people, like, to produce pills, or I don't know, drugs, or some kind of injection, whatever, chip, microchip, whatever thing, to counteract something like that. Can you imagine the kind of people, like, how high value that would be if you could make technology or something that could be like a temporary or permanent antidote where you can commit crimes in a presumed like crimeless state of order? Doesn't make sense to me. Another thing was that, okay, this movie, even with my idea of what this world is meant to be, like a slightly like over the top world, it still doesn't make sense. Because I remember I was watching it and they got to explaining why people don't just leave, like go across the border. A lot of people try to keep leaving for Canada. I don't know for other places, which is another issue, but a lot of people try to leave for Canada, including famous people, and apparently they were shot at and killed. Some of these people off screen, and then definitely people on screen, were being shot and killed. There were patrolmen at borders making sure people didn't get. But why not? I don't. I don't understand this world. Like, what is that? What does that do for you if you just keep it? That means they're already more or less prisoner to the state and to the government, the federal government, wouldn't they? I feel this movie feels like I'm missing something. Because even when I get down to characters, Brick started off, the main character. I could tell he was the guy that was supposed to be like hard as nails, but has a code, I guess you would say, has his own weaknesses, and they explore that in the movie with people close to him, someone he's interested in romantically. I don't mind tropes, believe it or not, in movies. I love tropes. I actually think tropes are underrated in their simplicity. To me, it's a journey, not the destination. I love Breaking Bad. If you do something like Breaking Bad, make sure it's good writing, because those tropes, have seen it before. The master criminal, someone, well, uh, I guess Gus is that, but the master criminal for the most part. Even Mike under him, like the above average henchman. That's his trope. With Walter is like the reluctant, well, eventually he becomes a villain more or less. But I guess that's a subversion. But the point being that you watch these movies and these shows and you see tropes, but that doesn't mean that based on the acting, based on the dialogue and the scripts, that they can't be better in the execution. And that's what this movie screams to me. This bad execution. It's just no, thank you at all. I'm not here for it. There was a lady in this movie. I'm not barely going to talk about her because she was just she made no sense. She was meant to be like the sexy double crossing insider. He was a hacker, but also a fiance to gangster, but not really because she was undercover. And this undercover lady had a sister who she was working this operation to like make sure that she was freed. But then I thought she was going to check back on her later on, and she didn't. And it just but then it turned out she was in Canada with her when she escaped at the end. Oh, I was just like, what? I I felt like even if I did pay attention with this movie, I might rewatch it again and then talk about it in the train of thought. I get the horrible feeling if I rewatch this movie and things made more sense. This movie would still be a C-list movie, which is terrifying. This movie, I referenced The Purge, makes The Purge look so nice, because at least The Purge, even though it's B-list, it's another thing with a good idea, but kind of mild like execution. At least with that one, it's mild. It can be good at times. This movie, Last Days of American Crime, nada. No. This movie is cutting room floor galore. This isn't even a good idea. I think I said it was a good idea. It's definitely not. No, I don't agree. This is an idea that in the run up to a good idea, you think about when you're planning a movie. I feel like this is something that myself, like I think about screenwriting sometimes, and I have those aspirations. But watching this movie made me realize I have to go through thinking about ideas like this before I can get to a halfway decent idea. That's how I feel about this movie. Please watch it yourself and make up your own mind, guys. But that's my review. If you like this, check out some of my other videos. Please put a thumbs up on one of them if you do, because it'll help out my future content. And that's it for now. Laters.